The Flash has been going through a lot of controversy surrounding its release, with Ezra Miller's past legal troubles last year and how it will affect the movie coming out, and many people have taken the stance of hating this movie way before they even saw it, just because of Ezra Miller's actions.
Nerf guns, just in case you worry that they're bullets. Those are Nerf bullets.
Thank you for letting
me.
They
are fake and they are a toy.
Thank you for letting
me. This is my belt buckle and my Nerf bullets.
I appreciate that.
Please don't take them from me. I have nerve damage from police handcuffs. From my life in New Jersey. I know y'all are not those cops, but please do not damage my nerves and my hands again.
And I guess it also gives DC an excuse for if the movie doesn't perform well, they can always just pin it on Ezra Miller. But when it comes to my review of The Flash, seeing as I've just seen it this morning, I'm gonna sit somewhere in the middle, as I don't particularly hate this movie, and I'm not taking any of my feelings for Ezra Miller into the movie either. I'm only judging the film for what it is, and I don't particularly hate it, but I also don't think it's some great masterpiece on the other hand either, as it's certainly better than most DC projects, and is certainly a lot better than most of the MCU Phase 4, but it's nowhere near a great superhero film like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was, or the MCU's No Way Home, as those are spectacular superhero movies, and this is definitely nowhere near those levels of films, but it is better than what DC were putting out, and it is better than a lot of movies that I've seen lately. So like I said, leading into this review, I'm going to stay away from all the controversy, and I'm going to stay away from my feelings towards Ezra Miller, and just give the negatives of the actual movie, and the positives of the actual movie. So let's get stuck in with the first negative, and by far the worst thing about this movie was the CGI. Watching this film, I just kept getting distracted by how bad the CGI was. And I think the reason the CGI is nowhere near the level it should be in this day and age is due to the fact that Warner Brothers and DC are out of money. They've lost so much money recently due to their movies flopping and not performing well at the box office. They've lost millions of dollars, and that's money that they can't afford to put into a new film, seeing as though it might end up flopping due to Ezra Miller's problems. So I think that's the reason the CGI was so bad in this film, and my god, was it bad. It almost came across as like Xbox 360 graphics at times. I've seen video games from 2015 have better CGI than this. It was really, really bad, and usually I don't mind the CGI if there's a few moments where you can tell it is CGI, because I get it, it's still fake at the end of the day, and it still pushes the needle forward for the story, but when it came to this, at times it was really distracting, because you would watch CGI, or you would watch some of the deepfake technology they used with Ezra Miller, and it just wasn't that good. It was just so distracting. It pulled you right out of the movie, and just made you look at the cinema and just go, what am I watching here? Like, how can this happen? How can this be a Hollywood-level production and have CGI that bad? So when it comes to negatives with this film, that is by far the worst and the most prominent negative when it comes to The Flash. And another negative for me was Ezra Miller's performance. Now, I've seen a lot of praise for Ezra Miller, and I've also seen a lot of negative reactions to Ezra Miller's performance, and I think I know why it's been so polarizing, because there were definitely scenes where Ezra Miller was really good, to be honest, and he handled a lot of the emotional depth really well, and carried a lot of weight in some of the scenes, but there were also scenes where he was just so unbearable. He was so monotone, or was just absolutely annoying. There were so many moments where I just wanted to punch Ezra Miller in the face, because they were honestly just really annoying with their performance. And I know I'm saying he here, that's because I'm referring to Barry Allen in the movie, in which he's a boy, but when I talk about Ezra Miller, I know I should use the words they, so when I refer to him, I will talk about they, but I am using the word he because Barry Allen is a boy. But yeah, there were times in which Barry Allen was just so annoying due to Ezra Miller's poor performance, and it just came across as cringy or just downright hard to watch. But like I said, there were moments in which Ezra Miller was good, in which Ezra Miller did perform really well and carry a lot of emotional weight. They definitely gave a great performance at times, but there were also so many times where they were just so annoying, so I don't really know where Ezra Miller's performance sits with me. I still need to think about it for some time, as I don't know whether Ezra Miller gave a good performance or just a bad performance, but the times at which they were bad definitely subtracts from the film, so it definitely warrants being a negative for this movie. Another negative was the fact that they definitely underused Zod. Zod in this film. When you watch the trailer, you see Zod appear and you go, oh my god, he's about to wreak absolute havoc. As we all remember from Man of Steel, how destructive Zod was and how dangerous and scary he was. And with the fact that they couldn't find Superman in the beginning, everyone was so panicked about Zod, but then when it came to the actual battle scene with Zod, I'm not going to give anything away here, he just wasn't as powerful as you might expect, or he just wasn't used as much as you might expect, as he was pretty powerful, but they just didn't utilize him a lot, and you didn't have that same fear for Zod as you did in the original Superman Man of Steel movie, where Zod was really powerful, Zod was really menacing. In this film, it really did come across like they underused him, and he just wasn't as menacing as I would have expected, and that definitely took a lot of weight and stakes away from this movie. And another big negative when it comes to The Flash is the overuse of fan service. Now, I am a fan. I do like being serviced. That is a Chris Stuckman quote. He said, I'm a fan, service me. I get that, and I do want to have some fan service in a superhero movie, but not this much. And I don't want you to rely so heavily on the fan service. When you take out the fan service moments, there aren't that many great moments in this movie. It's still a good story, it's still pretty good, but it's not a great movie, and I think the fan service bits are what really make you emotional with this film, and you really love Michael Keaton's character, and like I said, those fan service moments are good, but when you take them away, the film's pretty average and dull. So I think they rely way too heavily on the fan service, and that subtracts from the actual plot and moving the actual needle forward to tell the story. But now I got the negatives out the way, let's talk about the positives, and my god, was Michael Keaton good in this movie. Michael Keaton gave two great Batman performances, and it's a bit risky for him to return and reprise his role as Batman for a third time, because if the movie flopped, then he wouldn't have the flawless record. But my god, was he good in this. I loved every scene that Michael Keaton was in. He carried such weight. He came across like he was having so much fun with his performance. He was so relaxed. He was so calm. He was so cool in the way that Michael Keaton always is, and he delivers some amazing lines. Some are in the trailer, and they just send shivers down your spine because you're just so happy to see him on screen, and he's by far the best Batman the DCU's ever had. He was so good in this movie. He was so cool to watch, and he definitely carried that leadership aspect and that mantle for the movie forward, and I think to me, he was more of the leading man than Ezra Miller was, because for me, Michael Keaton definitely had more presence on screen and definitely carried more weight in the film than Ezra Miller did in a sense. So for Ezra Miller to be the actual lead of the film, to me, Michael Keaton definitely outshone Ezra Miller and came across as a bigger lead. And a positive that I do have to give the movie is that the emotional, weighty scenes were nailed. They were so good. I thought the movie was really well paced and found moments to sit in some emotionality really well, and it just sat in them for a bit, and I love that when it comes to a superhero movie. I think there are times in blockbusters where you get so carried away and you forget to sit in some emotional moments, where The Flash definitely does that, as I think the pacing and the emotional moments of the film were so nailed perfectly. They were just great. I just really enjoyed those emotional moments. And speaking about emotional moments, there were also some funny moments. This movie definitely had some crazy laugh out loud scenes, and I can't count the amount of times the whole cinema erupted with laughter at some of the jokes used in this film. And when a movie can do that and hit you on different emotional aspects, make you laugh, make you cry, make you scared, make you tensed, I love those films, and this film definitely does that, as it does make you sad, but also makes you laugh at times, and I thought the movie at times was hilarious. However, there were a few jokes that kind of fell flat and came across as kind of cringy, but you can always expect that when you go to watch a superhero film. And so with all the funny bits and the sad bits and Michael Keaton's great performance, the movie's definitely entertaining, and it's a really entertaining film. However, when you compare it to what great superhero movies actually are, then it's not really up there on that level. And the way that DC were hyping this film, saying that this was going to be some masterpiece and revive the DCU, it definitely wasn't that. However, it definitely was a strong showing for the DC, and it gives them a lot to work off and puts them in good stead to try and correct the ship. However, this doesn't save the DCU by any stretch of the imagination. It's not a masterpiece. Ezra Miller's not the greatest actor of all time. He doesn't give the greatest superhero performance of all time. However, it is entertaining, so I would recommend you go out and watch this movie, as I really did enjoy it, but when you compare it to other great films, it's not some cinematic masterpiece. It's not a great movie. It's just a solid, good film that you're gonna be entertained by. However, that is a rare occurrence for DC, so I am quite surprised and quite shocked that DC were able to pull this off. stuff. So like I said, all the hype in the beginning, hyping up the movie, definitely made it a bit of a disappointment and a bit of a letdown when you actually watch the final project, but it is entertaining, it is good. I give it like a 7 out of 10. So if you have free time, go out and watch this movie. You won't be disappointed, you'll definitely be entertained, but it's definitely not a masterpiece. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all on my next video.